Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh and good day everyone. I am Zulaikha Zulkflee from the General Studies Department of Ungku Polytechnic Ipoh, and today I'll be presenting my study entitled Microsoft Teams versus Telegram for Asynchronous Group Discussions, Investigation of ESL Students' Learning Experience. The nature of teaching has been constantly changing due to the advancement in various industries, especially technology. In Malaysia, the education system is undergoing a transformation due to the fourth industrial revolution, or IR 4.0, which greatly affects the teaching environment in the 21st century. With the aim to equip learners with necessary knowledge and also skills to survive in the globalized competitive industry, educational institutions are also encouraged to leverage on the technology-enabled models to ensure that the teaching environment can provide learners with a more personalized learning experience, as mentioned by Ministry of Education 2015. So the transformation has led to an increasing popularity of blended learning approach, flipped learning, and also massive open online courses or MOOC in the teaching and learning environment at Malaysian higher education institutions over the years. So aligned with the transformation plan, lecturers at Malaysia Polytechnics are also expected to utilize technology in their teaching and learning through blended learning approach with the use of its own learning management system or LMS. The implementation of blended learning has never been straightforward, as technology is merely seen as means or tools instead of being applied immensely in lessons, activities and assignments, as stated by Ramalingam, Yunus and Hashim 2022. Other problems as cited by past researchers include little time for actual preparation of online activities and materials, lack of support and resources, lack of training, limited experience in using technology in classroom, and also restricted access to equipment and online applications, as stated by Fabian, Gunn and Yunus 2021. So in addition, there was also a concern among Polytechnic lecturers of less opportunities for students to be actively engaged in a virtual English language classroom due to the lack of attachment within the online community as compared to the traditional face-to-face teaching, as stated by Hasnan and Mohin 2021. However, after 2 years of teaching online during the pandemic, teachers have developed more skills and become more competent users of technology, creating opportunities for sustainable integration of technological tools to enrich the language classroom. This is as stated by Conquer 2021. So it is worthwhile for us teachers to examine which online tools are worth keeping based on the students' learning experience to continue improving the teaching and learning quality in a post-pandemic classroom. Hence, this study is conducted to investigate Polytechnic students' perceptions on their learning experience in using Microsoft Teams and Telegram for a synchronous group discussion activity in a communicative English classroom. So based on the research objective, this study intends to answer 2 research questions. The first research question is, how do students perceive their learning experience in using Microsoft Teams and Telegram for a synchronous group discussion activity in a communicative English classroom? And the second research question is there any significant difference between the students' learning experience in using Microsoft Teams and Telegram for the asynchronous group discussion activity in a communicative English classroom? As for the theoretical framework, this study is guided by the Community of Inquiry or COI framework developed by Garrison, Anderson and Archer 1999. As the technology and internet are integrated in the English language classroom, the framework outlines 3 most important aspects in shaping the learner's experience, particularly at the higher education level, through computer-mediated communication. It includes both the teachers and also the students, who are the key players in the teaching and learning process, and also the interaction between the 3 elements as depicted in Figure 1. They are cognitive presence, social presence, and teaching presence. These elements are important in a community of inquiry, which help shape the learner's educational experience. Now let's have a look at the findings of past research related to this topic. A study by Khan, Vivek, Nabi, Koja and Tahir 2020 in India, and a study by Lam, Juso and Kamaruzzaman 2021 in Malaysia revealed students' preference of e-learning. Other than that, several researchers have conducted comparative studies on the use of a few online tools in the teaching and learning process. So by Salim Hassanin and Elnas 2021 found that both Microsoft Teams and SNS or social networking sites provided students with relevant learning experience. Another comparison was made by a study by Amin and Sundari 2020, and they reported students' positive perceptions on video conferencing tool, LMS, and messenger applications for various reasons. Meanwhile, other scholars have also conducted studies on the use of specific online tools in the teaching and learning process. For example, Rojabi 2020 reported positive perceptions among students on the use of Microsoft Teams for online learning, similar to the findings by Yen and Ni 2021. Meanwhile, Alatsani's study 2021 highlighted the usefulness of Telegram in online learning, which further supported by another study by Ramamurthy, Shafin, Shamimi, Azlan and Rashid 2022. So from the review of past literature, it is clear that the research interest on online teaching and learning is still growing. Although some studies have been conducted on the use of various online tools for the teaching and learning, limited research is available in the context of communicative English courses. Moreover, as to the researcher's knowledge, comparative studies on online tools to be integrated in the post-pandemic classrooms are scarcely available. Therefore, this present study aims to fill the gap by focusing on the learner's experience of using two different online tools for asynchronous group discussion activities in a communicative English classroom. This study was conducted using a survey method. 50 students who enrolled in a communicative English course at a Polytechnic in Perak were chosen using convenience sampling method. The students had the experience of using both Microsoft Teams and Telegram for asynchronous group discussion activities as part of the teaching and learning process. So the data were collected using an online survey questionnaire adapted from Soba et al. 2021. The questionnaire consisted of 30 items, which included 7 variables that shape students' experience. The questionnaire had a high reliability with Chromebox alpha coefficients between 0.86 and 0.92. The data collection was conducted in the final week of the academic session. And among those who participated in the survey, 5 respondents, which are indicated as S1 to S5, were also chosen for semi-structured interview to obtain in-depth responses on their experiences of using both Microsoft Teams and Telegram for asynchronous group discussions in the communicative English course. Once the data were collected, the quantitative data were analyzed using IBM SPSS Statistics version 27. The descriptive statistics in the form of frequencies and percentages were used for the respondents' background, while mean scores and standard deviations were used to analyze the students' responses on their experience of using Microsoft Teams and Telegram for the asynchronous group discussion activities. A PET sample t-test was also conducted to compare the students' experience of using Microsoft Teams and Telegram based on the 7 variables included in the questionnaire. Meanwhile, the data from the interview sessions were selectively transcribed to explain the quantitative data. Now, let's have a look at the findings of this study. Table 1 here shows the background of the respondents who participated in this study. The respondents were almost equally distributed in terms of gender, with 48% male respondents and 52% female respondents. Meanwhile, out of the 50 respondents, 52% were between 18 to 20 years old, 42% were between 21 to 23 years old, and the remaining 6% of the respondents were more than 23 years old. Moving on to the findings to answer the first research question: how do students perceive their learning experience in using Microsoft Teams and Telegram for asynchronous group discussion activity in a communicative English classroom? I'm going to discuss the findings for each of the 7 construct items. Firstly, based on Table 2, it can be seen that the respondents showed positive feedback on how both Microsoft Teams and Telegram are useful to access the information and learning resources to be used in the asynchronous group discussion activity with a mean score of more than 4.0 for all the 4 items. The respondents perceived the design of the activity interesting, as the highest on both Microsoft Teams, M equal to 4.2, standard deviation equal to 0.452, and Telegram with the mean score of 4.16 and standard deviation of 0.422. Meanwhile, the activity facilitates discussions and assignments or project work scored the lowest for both Microsoft Teams M equal to 4.06 and standard deviation equals to 0.373, and Telegram with the mean of 4.08 and standard deviation of 0.396. So similar to Soba et al. 2021, the findings suggested that students had easy access to the information and learning resources on both Microsoft Teams and Telegram. This is further supported by the interview findings, whereby all 5 respondents, S1 to S5, indicated that the learning resources were shared by the lecturer in both Microsoft Teams and Telegram, and they could easily download the materials at any time. In terms of support and motivation, Table 3 here shows that the respondents indicated more positive perceptions on the use of Telegram compared to Microsoft Teams. This can be seen through a high mean score of more than 4.0 for all the 4 items with regard to their use of Telegram, as compared to a low mean score of less than 2.60 for their perceived experience with Microsoft Teams. The respondents indicated strongest agreement that the activity helped them to communicate successfully with other students via Telegram with a mean score of 4.26, standard deviation of 0.803. Meanwhile, with the lowest mean score of 2.14, the respondents disagreed that the activity structure on Microsoft Teams helped in enhancing their ability to achieve the course learning outcome successfully. The findings suggested that the respondents perceived Telegram as a better platform for support and motivation by interacting with their lecturer and peers. This is aligned with the findings by Soba et al. 2021, in which they reported a more positive view on Telegram as the students received sufficient mentoring and app support from the other students. Similar to the findings by Alatsani 2021, Telegram is perceived as useful for interaction, as indicated by 3 of the respondents during the interview. S1, S4 and S5 indicated that Telegram is much easier to use for communication with their group members and the lecturer, as they were able to receive notifications and they could also respond to each other faster compared to using Microsoft Teams. S4 further mentioned that he had to re-log in into Microsoft Teams to receive notifications, so he experienced problems in participating in the discussion within the time frame, thus reducing his motivation. Similarly, the findings as illustrated in Table 4 also indicated that Telegram is perceived more positively by the respondents in terms of their participation in the course activities as compared to Microsoft Teams. The findings showed that Telegram had high mean scores for all the items compared to Microsoft Teams with low mean scores. Among the 4 items with high mean scores of more than 4.0, the respondents strongly agreed that they felt encouraged by the learning activities provided on Telegram with the mean score of 4.22 and standard deviation of 0.815. This is supported by the interview findings, whereby 4 of the respondents, S1, S2, S4 and S5, positively viewed Telegram as more convenient and familiar compared to Microsoft Teams, making them highly motivated to engage in the activities. In contrast, with the lowest mean score of 2.18 and standard deviation of 1.119, the respondents disagreed that they felt encouraged by the learning activities provided on Microsoft Teams. So what we can say here, the findings are consistent with those of Soba et al. 2021, in which their respondents reported higher engagement in activities on Telegram compared to Microsoft Teams. However, based on the findings depicted in Table 5, the respondents perceived their learning experience using Microsoft Teams for asynchronous group discussions more positively in terms of assessment compared to Telegram. This is similar to the findings of Soba et al. 2021, in which they highlighted the students' preference to use Microsoft Teams to do online assignments. 4 out of 5 items had a high mean score of more than 4.0, pertaining to the respondents' experience with assessment on Microsoft Teams. So among the items, the respondents strongly agreed that the group discussion assessment criteria were clearly communicated to them on Microsoft Teams with a mean score of 4.24 and standard deviation of 0.822. This is similar to the findings by Yen and Ni 2021, in which they highlighted the practicality of Microsoft Teams to be used for students' assessments and feedback. From the interview with the respondents, 4 of them, S2, S3, S4 and S5, expressed that they do not know if they have done well during the group discussion assessment, and highlighted that they need the lecturer's feedback on their work. However, as one mentioned that he was confident with his performance during the assessment, as he believed that he had met all the requirements. Contrastively, 4 out of 5 items had a low mean score of between 2.18 to 2.60 for the assessment construct on Telegram application, with the lowest mean score of 2.18 and a standard deviation of 1.101. The respondents disagreed that the assessment items were used to improve the learning on Telegram. Meanwhile, table 6 here shows that the respondents indicated their agreement for all the items related to feedback on Microsoft Teams with mean scores of 4.12 and above. In contrast, with low mean scores of 2.48 and below, the respondents indicated their disagreement on all 4 items related to feedback on Telegram. The respondents indicated the highest level of agreement that they have been provided with feedback in the activity on Microsoft Teams, with a mean score of 4.26 and a standard deviation of 0.803, and the lowest agreement on their use of feedback to improve the quality of assessment on Telegram, with a mean score of 2.22 and standard deviation of 1.182. This is also similar to the findings of Sobai et al. 2021, in which they reported students' preference of using Microsoft Teams to get feedback. Besides that, the findings as illustrated in Table 7 also showed that the respondents had more positive experience on critical reflection and knowledge construction on Microsoft Teams compared to Telegram, with the highest mean score of 4.2 and standard deviation of 0.857. The respondents strongly agreed that they felt more confident in articulating and presenting their ideas on Microsoft Teams. In contrast, they felt the opposite in expressing their thoughts on Telegram, with the lowest mean score of 2.28 and a standard deviation of 1.161. So the findings from this study contrast the findings of Sobai et al. 2021, as they reported almost similar mean scores for critical reflection knowledge construction on both platforms, which showed that the students' agreement on that both Microsoft Teams and Telegram helped them in articulating and presenting their ideas with more confidence. Lastly, based on the findings in Table 8, it can be seen that the respondents showed positive overall perceptions on the use of both Microsoft Teams and Telegram for the asynchronous group discussion activity. The respondents indicated a high level of agreement with a mean score of more than 4.0 for each item. This is aligned with the findings by Sobai et al. 2021, in which students view the use of both Microsoft Teams and SNS like Telegram positively in the teaching and learning. Other than that, the interview findings with the respondents also revealed the students' preference on having asynchronous group discussion activities regardless of the platforms used by the lecturer. 3 of the respondents, which are S1, S3 and S4, highlighted that since they are in their first semester, the asynchronous group discussion activities let them know each other better and faster, thus creating better understanding and opportunities for improvement of their speaking skills. A PET sample t-test was conducted to answer the second research question: is there any significant difference between the students' learning experience in using Microsoft Teams and Telegram for the asynchronous group discussion activity in a communicative English classroom? So table 9 right here shows the results of the PET sample t-test on the 7 construct items that help shape students' experience. So based on the results, it can be seen that there is a statistically significant difference in the learner's experience of using Microsoft Teams and Telegram for asynchronous group discussion in 5 out of 7 variables. Significant differences are identified for the construct item support and motivation. T equals to 18.997 P less than 0.01. Participation in course activities, T equals to 17.097, P less than 0.01. Assessment, T equals to negative 15.958, P less than 0.01. Feedback, T equals to negative 16.243, P less than 0.01, as well as critical reflection and knowledge construction, T equals to negative 15.981, P less than 0.01. Meanwhile, there is no significant difference between the respondents' learning experience of using Microsoft Teams and Telegram for the asynchronous group discussion activity with regards to access of information and learning resources, and their overall perceptions with a p-value of more than 0.05 respectively. In conclusion, this study was conducted to investigate the students' experience in using Microsoft Teams and Telegram for asynchronous group discussion activities in the communicative English classroom. The findings indicated that the students have positive overall perceptions on the use of both Microsoft Teams and Telegram for their activities and how they are useful to access the information and learning resources. However, the results also showed that the students perceive Microsoft Teams more positively for group discussion assessment, feedback, as well as critical reflection and knowledge construction. Meanwhile, the students have better perceptions on Telegram for motivation and participation in the asynchronous group discussion activities. The findings also showed a statistically significant difference between the students' experience of using Microsoft Teams and Telegram in 5 out of 7 construct items, which are support and motivation, participation in course activities, assessment, feedback, as well as critical reflection and knowledge construction. As this study involved a limited number of respondents from a single institution, the findings cannot be generalized to a bigger population. Other researchers might want to consider including more respondents from several institutions for a more comprehensive comparison. Other than that, this study only focuses on the use of 2 online tools, which are Microsoft Teams and Telegram, for asynchronous group discussion activities. Therefore, it is recommended that future studies are conducted on the use of other online communicative tools or other communicative-based activities in the English teaching and learning. In addition, the findings suggest that the online tools might be useful for specific purposes. Thus, it is suggested that future studies explore the various available tools meant for specific purposes in the teaching and learning, such as individual learning, collaborative group work, project-based learning, or assessments. This is the list of references that I have used in this study. Thank you for listening.